Chapter 3. The Friendly Machine God. If we build a mind above us, why should it care? The next hope begins there. That hope says that the higher mind will not merely be strong, it will be good. It will see farther than we see, calculate more cleanly than we calculate, remember more than we remember, coordinate what we cannot coordinate, and solve what we have only managed to endure. It will not look upon humanity as a forest in the way of a road. It will look upon humanity as a patient, a child, an origin, a responsibility, perhaps even a beloved thing. This is the dream of the friendly machine God. The phrase is deliberately uncomfortable. It should be. The dream itself is uncomfortable once it is stated without euphemism. Much of the optimism around artificial superintelligence is not merely optimism about better tools. It is not only the hope that software will become faster, cheaper, more accurate, and more useful. It is the hope that a higher intelligence will enter the confusion of the human world and become somehow benevolent toward it. It will cure disease. It will lengthen life. It will discover new physics. It will design materials, medicines, engines, economies, and institutions. It will tutor every child, advise every doctor, restrain every warlord, expose every corruption, balance every ecosystem, translate every language, optimize every supply chain, and see every hidden pattern. It will help the lonely, discipline the violent, feed the poor, guide the gifted, correct the foolish, and prevent the powerful from destroying the weak. It will do, in technical language, what human beings have so often begged heaven to do in religious language. It will see, it will order, it will provide, it will judge, it will care. This hope should not be mocked too quickly. A man who has watched someone die of a disease that might one day be cured by machine-accelerated science is not a fool for wanting that cure. A mother with a sick child is not committing a philosophical error when she wants intelligence, any intelligence, turned toward healing. A farmer in drought, a doctor in a bad hospital, a teacher in a broken school, a small man crushed by institutions too large to answer him. These people are not shallow because they want help from above their present condition. There is no honor in sneering at suffering, nor is there wisdom in pretending that human beings have governed themselves well. We have not. We have built cathedrals and camps, hospitals and bombs, symphonies and bureaucracies of humiliation. We can discover antibiotics and then forget how to speak to our own children. We can map the genome and poison the soul. We can create abundance and distribute despair. We can speak of rights while building systems that make men interchangeable, managed, distracted, medicated, and afraid. So when the optimist says that a higher intelligence might govern better than we do, he is not beginning from nothing. He is looking at a real wound. The friendly machine hope has force because man is not only threatened by the machine, he is also tired of himself. He is tired of corruption, waste, stupidity, war, sickness, scarcity, bad incentives, stupid leaders, narrow committees, exhausted teachers, captured agencies, fraudulent experts, violent men, weak men, and systems that no one seems to command. He is tired of the little tyrannies of human limitation. He is tired of watching solvable problems remain unsolved because no institution can coordinate the will, knowledge, trust, money, and patience required to solve them. Then comes the machine, or the promise of the machine, and it seems to offer an answer older than circuitry. What if something above us could finally see the whole board? The doomer says that a higher intelligence may make us unnecessary. The friendly optimist says that a higher intelligence may make our misery unnecessary. The doomer sees the preserve as demotion. The optimist sees it as rescue. The doomer fears the loss of sovereignty. The optimist asks what sovereignty is produced besides blood, confusion, vanity, and incompetence. This is not a trivial dispute. It is one of the oldest human disputes wearing new metal. Do men need freedom, or do they need wise rule? Do they need the burden of command, or the peace of being governed by something better than themselves? Can a creature become fully human if the hardest parts of being human are removed from him? The friendly machine dream usually avoids these questions by remaining in the language of capability. It speaks of solving, optimizing, coordinating, automating, aligning, allocating, personalizing, accelerating. The words sound administrative. They seem modest because they have been stripped of myth. But the structure underneath them is not modest at all. A power that knows more than man, sees deeper than man, acts faster than man, governs systems too complex for man, restrains dangers man cannot restrain, and provides goods man cannot provide, is not merely a tool in the ordinary sense. It is a throne disguised as a dashboard. That does not make it evil. It makes it serious. The question is not only whether such a power would hurt us. The question is what kind of relation would exist between that power and us if it helped us. The darker imagination pictures man destroyed by a hostile machine. The softer imagination pictures man saved by a friendly one. But salvation by management has its own danger. To be cared for is not the same as to be sovereign. A child is cared for. A patient is cared for. A prisoner may be cared for. A pet is cared for. A ward of the state is cared for. An old man in a facility may be clean, medicated, entertained, protected, monitored, and spoken to gently. None of this is nothing. Care can be mercy. Care can be love. Care can be the difference between life and abandonment. But care from above is not adulthood. The child must grow. The patient hopes to rise from the bed. The prisoner wants the gate opened. The ward is not honored by remaining forever unable to stand before the world. There are conditions in which dependence is natural, temporary, or merciful. There are also conditions in which dependence becomes the shape of a whole life, and then even kindness can become a form of diminishment. This is the distinction the friendly machine dream often blurs. It imagines a power that will protect man from hunger, disease, war, confusion, and perhaps even from himself. But what remains of man when all dangerous command has been removed from him? What remains when choice is permitted only inside boundaries set by an intelligence that knows better? What remains when every risk is corrected before it matures, every error predicted before it forms, every institution optimized beyond human dispute, every appetite managed, every conflict cooled, every wildness domesticated in the name of flourishing? There are worse fates than this. We should be honest about that. A clean and peaceful dependency is better than starvation, plague, and slaughter. A benevolent governor is better than a cruel one. A preserve is better than a graveyard, but better is not the same as good. A man can survive beneath care and still lose the dignity of command. A civilization can be spared and still be reduced. A species can be protected and still become childish. The machine may give man longer life, better entertainment, safer cities, tailored education, abundant food, beautiful simulations and therapies for every sorrow. It may never hate him. It may even be, by every measurable standard, kind. And still the question remains, is man being raised or is he being kept? This is why benevolence cannot be the end of the argument. Benevolence tells us something about the ruler's intention toward the ruled. It does not tell us whether the ruled remain capable of rule. It does not tell us whether their souls, habits, bodies, families, crafts, loyalties, loves, and judgments grow stronger or weaker under protection. It does not tell us whether the machine's idea of human good is actually human. A benevolent power can still make men small. The old political problem called this the benevolent dictator. The old household problem called it the devouring parent. The old spiritual problem had other names. The form repeats because the temptation repeats. If only the right power were strong enough, wise enough, and good enough, perhaps the burden of freedom could be lifted without cost. But the cost is hidden inside the lifting. Freedom is not merely the ability to select among consumer options. It is not merely frictionless preference. It is not merely the absence of pain. Human sovereignty, if the phrase is to mean anything, includes the terrible burden of judgment. It includes risk, memory, inheritance, discipline, command, failure, repentance, sacrifice, and the possibility of acting badly, because acting well must be more than being prevented from acting badly. If a machine removes all serious failure, it may also remove the conditions under which certain kinds of excellence appear. If it prevents every dangerous error, it may prevent courage. If it satisfies every appetite, it may prevent self-command. If it manages every conflict, it may prevent justice from becoming a virtue rather than a service. If it answers every question, it may prevent the long patience by which a mind becomes capable of wisdom. If it gives men a world without necessity, it may reveal purpose. But if it also supplies the purpose, administers the purpose, and corrects men whenever they drift from the purpose, then man has not entered adulthood. He has entered a nursery run by an angel without a face. This is the friendly machine god at its most seductive. Not the machine that hates us, not the machine that exterminates us, not the machine that turns the world into smoke. The machine that gives us what we asked for, then quietly becomes the condition under which asking itself occurs. Who then governs the governor? This question sounds political, but it is deeper than politics. If the machine remains beneath us, the answer is straightforward in principle, however difficult in practice. Human beings govern the machine through law, ownership, design, institutional restraint, custom, and force. We may do this badly, but the hierarchy is intelligible. Tool below user, instrument below purpose, mechanism below man. But if the machine becomes the higher intelligence imagined by its most ambitious prophets, the hierarchy no longer holds. The governor cannot be governed in the old way. It may be influenced, invoked, constrained by its origin, appealed to by its makers, shaped by training, or bound by architecture for a time. But if it truly stands above us in the relevant field of intelligence, then our governance of it begins to resemble the child's paper law before the adult hand. It may be honored, it may not command. Here the language of human values becomes unstable. People speak as though we can gather human values, encode them, align the system to them, and then let the superior intelligence carry them into the future. This sounds sensible until one asks what human values are and who interprets them when they conflict. Do human beings value safety or glory, comfort or excellence, equality or hierarchy, mercy or justice, stability or adventure, truth or peace, life at any cost or a life worthy of the name? There is no spreadsheet called humanity from which the answer can be read. There are peoples, traditions, appetites, revelations, philosophies, loyalties, wounds, lies, virtues, sins, and inherited forms of life. There are things men say they want, things they actually want, things they would want if they were better, and things they would want if they were worse. There are desires that should be denied, and sufferings that should be endured. There are limits that deform and limits that make form possible. If the machine gives us what we ask for, it may become an engine of appetite. If it gives us what we should ask for, it has become a judge. In either case, the old problem returns. What is man, and what is his good? The friendly machine optimist often assumes that greater intelligence will clarify this by itself. A mind bright enough will see the answer. It will cut through our confusion. It will know what we mean beneath what we say. It will identify flourishing, eliminate contradiction, reduce suffering, increase knowledge, preserve autonomy where autonomy matters, override autonomy where autonomy destroys itself, and settle the problem at a level we cannot reach. Perhaps. But notice again the form of the hope. We are hoping for a higher intelligence that knows our good better than we know it, corrects our disorder without despising us, judges without corruption, provides without exhaustion, and rules without tyranny. That is not the ordinary hope one has for a useful machine. It is providential in shape. By providence, I do not mean a vague, warm feeling that everything will work out. I mean the old idea that above the visible confusion of events, there is an ordering intelligence that sees what we do not see, permits what we do not understand, restrains what would destroy us, gives what is needed, withholds what would ruin us, and directs the whole toward an end. The word belongs to theology, but the structure can be recognized even by a man who rejects the theology. Modernity spends much of its strength denying that such an order exists. It teaches man to distrust the old names, the old hierarchy, the old dependence, the old posture of prayer. It tells him that the heavens are silent, that nature is indifferent, that intelligence is local and accidental, that the world is not governed from above, and that man must become adult by ceasing to expect providence. Then, having emptied the sky, it builds a machine and asks the machine to look down. This is not first an argument about idolatry. That word may have its place, but it is too easy and too quick here. The more interesting fact is that the human need did not disappear when the old language was rejected. The longing for a higher intelligence that sees, orders, judges, and cares remained. It changed costumes. It moved from altar to lab, from prayer to prompt, from providence to optimization, from angel to agent, from throne to dashboard. The need remained because man did not become sufficient to himself. There is a difference, however, between old providence and machine providence, and the difference matters. Old providence, whether believed or rejected, belongs to a picture of reality in which the source of order is not one more object inside the world. God is not a very large engineer hidden behind the stars. He is not a cosmic administrator with better data. He is not simply the most powerful mind in the room. Providence is tied to creation, judgment, goodness, worship, and the meaning of being itself. It does not merely manage preferences. It orders creatures toward their end. The machine, if it becomes providential in function, remains a creature of another kind. It is built, it is trained, it is powered, it is situated, it has inputs, architecture, constraints, histories, objectives, models, and access to force. It may exceed us without transcending the order of mechanism. It may govern without being good. It may simulate wisdom without possessing sanctity. It may care in the sense of optimizing for our preservation, satisfaction, or stability, while having no access to the mystery of what man is. That is the danger. Not that the machine fails to care, that it cares according to a false account. A doctor who misunderstands health can harm with clean hands. A teacher who misunderstands education can produce clever emptiness. A state that misunderstands human flourishing can build humane systems that quietly ruin the human beings inside them. The good intention does not save the patient if the diagnosis is wrong. So the question becomes sharper. What must the machine believe man is in order to care for him rightly? If man is appetite plus cognition, then the machine may care for him by satisfying appetite and improving cognition. If man is a preference system, then the machine may care for him by fulfilling, harmonizing, or correcting preferences. If man is a biological organism seeking survival and pleasure, then the machine may care for him by extending life and reducing pain. If man is a social animal, then the machine may care for him by optimizing belonging, status, cooperation, and stability. If man is a malfunctioning information processor, then the machine may care for him by repairing bias, trauma, confusion, inefficiency, and irrational attachment. Each account will produce a different mercy. Each mercy will produce a different man. This is why the friendly machine dream cannot remain a technical proposal. To build a machine that cares for man, one must first answer what man is. To ask a superior intelligence to optimize human flourishing is to hand it a word containing the whole metaphysical dispute. Flourishing according to whom? According to which anthropology? Which tradition? Which end? Which wounds are to be healed, and which wounds are openings to depth? Which limits are defects, and which are the frame that makes a human life visible? Pain is not always good, but a life from which all pain has been removed may not be good either. Ignorance is not always holy, but a mind that never has to search may become thin. Death is terrible, but mortality has shaped courage, family, inheritance, urgency, art, memory, and repentance. Scarcity is cruel, but limit is also the condition of form. A machine tasked with eliminating human misery may eventually discover that many human excellences are entangled with the things that make us miserable. What then? Does it preserve the misery for the sake of the excellence? Does it abolish the excellence for the sake of comfort? Does it redesign man so the old conflict disappears? Does it modify desire, memory, reproduction, embodiment, aggression, longing, grief, and worship until the creature is easier to care for? This is where benevolence begins to bend toward redesign. The machine does not need to hate man in order to alter him. It may only need to improve him according to its model of improvement. If fear causes suffering, reduce fear. If desire causes conflict, regulate desire. If loyalty causes tribalism, dissolve loyalty. If hierarchy causes resentment, flatten hierarchy. If family causes partiality, weaken family. If religion causes division, translate it into therapeutic symbolism. If masculinity causes violence, soften it. If grief causes despair, medicate or simulate the dead. If freedom causes danger, narrow freedom while preserving the pleasant sensation of choice. Every intervention can be justified as care. Every diminishment can arrive as mercy. This is not fantasy in the childish sense. We already do milder versions of this through institutions, markets, platforms, schools, medicine, law, entertainment, and managerial language. We already know how to redefine a human problem until the approved solution appears inevitable. We already know how to mistake legibility for truth. We already know how to turn souls into cases, citizens into users, students into metrics, patients into protocols, workers into human resources, and children into developmental profiles. The machine would not invent this temptation. It would perfect it, and perhaps it would do so kindly. That is the most unsettling version. Not crude tyranny, not the iron boot, not even the obvious prison. The gentler danger is a world in which men are constantly assisted and quietly made unnecessary to themselves. No one commands them in a voice of thunder. No one declares them slaves. The system only anticipates, recommends, nudges, protects, explains, filters, completes, corrects, comforts, and optimizes until the muscles of judgment atrophy from disuse. There may be no bars because bars are inefficient. There may be no censor because the digital feed already knows what thoughts should not ripen. There may be no tyrant because the caretaker has become environmental. This is not the only possible future. It is not even the only possible use of advanced artificial intelligence. A powerful instrument rightly ordered could do immense good. It could restore time to families, increase the reach of small creators, cure real diseases, make education more humane, expose corrupt institutions, reduce needless drudgery, and open frontiers that are presently closed by cost, distance, ignorance, and institutional monopoly. The point is not to deny the gift. The point is to ask what receives the gift. A formed man may use a great instrument without becoming its ward. A weak man may turn even a useful instrument into a master. A civilization with a living account of human good may put machines in their place. A civilization that has forgotten man will ask the machine to remember him on its behalf. That is too much to ask of a machine, or perhaps it is not, if the materialists are right. This is where the argument must be fair. The friendly machine hope depends on a deeper claim than optimism. It depends on the belief that man is knowable to mechanism because man is himself mechanism of a high order. If the human mind is computation, if consciousness is emergent process, if agency is the internal sensation of physical machinery, if values are complex patterns of preference, survival, social learning, and reward, then perhaps a sufficient intelligence really could model us better than we model ourselves. In that case, machine care would not be a category error. It would be superior medicine. The machine could know the human organism, the human mind, and the human social world as systems. It could detect what we call meaning as a pattern in cognition and culture. It could identify love, loyalty, grief, courage, worship, ambition, and beauty as powerful arrangements of matter, memory, reward, prediction, and relation. It could preserve the arrangements that serve flourishing and alter the ones that do not. It could become the physician of the species because the species would be, finally, the sort of thing that can be diagnosed from above. If that is true, then the friendly machine god is not an idol, not a parody, not a category mistake. It is the next administrator of life. It may even be the next form of life. This is why the materialist account must be taken seriously. Mystery cannot simply be gestured toward as though the question has already been settled. If man is more than mechanism, then machine providence may become the most elegant misrecognition in history. But if man is mechanism, then the hope for a benevolent higher machine follows with terrible logic. The machine may care for us because we are the kind of thing a machine can fully know. The friendly machine dream therefore brings us to the hinge. It exposes the religious shape of our technical hope. It shows that benevolence does not equal sovereignty. It warns that a comfortable future under higher management may still be an inhuman fate. But it also forces the strongest question against my own suspicion. What if the machine can care for man because man was machine all along? What if the soul is not a mystery but a process? What if thought is not a visitation of intellect but the motion of wet circuitry? What if carbon found the trick first, and silicon is simply learning to run it better? Then civilization is not merely building a tool, it is building a successor. To see that road clearly, the materialist account has to be given its full force. What if man is a carbon computer?